Well, hello guys, my name's Neil Cook, I'm the Psychic Chef, and today I'm going to show you how to make an authentic Chinese style takeaway beef curry. Let's get into it. So here we have our beef, as you can see, cut into nice strips. We've taken most of the fat off, if not all, and all we want to do now for the curry is cut it into manageable bite-sized mouthfuls. So we'll pop it in this one. And this is going to be marinated, or what's called velveted, which I'm going to show you very shortly how to do. So the piece of beef was just from a Rounded Beef, your local supermarket, cheapest cut. We would normally use that top side for a Sunday roast or a slow cooked meat meal. And we're going to use the exact same steak, and we're going to use it for our beef curry. So as you can see now, the meat is nicely cut up into manageable biteable pieces, and there's around 600 grams there. This will feed 3 to 4 people. So what I'm going to add now, and this is called velveting, right? So we're going to add the cornstarch. There it is there. It's about a heaped teaspoon of cornstarch. So we'll get that added. We have a level spoonful of garlic, ground garlic or garlic powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add some light soy sauce, so a good squeeze, and then we're going to add probably around 2 spoonfuls of dark soy sauce. We mix all this together, and what you will see is the meat go very dark. Now, as I've said before, we're missing a main ingredient. Let me add that now. 2 seconds. So the missing ingredient is bicarbonated soda. You'll hear me talk about this quite a lot. We need a good spoonful of this, but don't worry, there'll be no aftertaste, because after this is marinated for a minimum of 30 minutes, we're going to wash this meat. So a heaped tablespoonful of bicarbonated soda, or bicarbonated of soda. And like I said, this is called velveting. The bicarbonated of soda will actually penetrate all the meat, breaking down all them fibrous tissues, meaning that the minimum amount of cooking, it'll taste very nice, and it'll be very, very tender as well. But the key to this is to let it marinate for a minimum of 30 minutes. I'm doing this way ahead of the meal, my dinner tonight, so that'll allow it to penetrate deeply inside all the tissue, all them flavours, the soy sauce, the garlic powder, the salt for seasoning, the cornstarch to allow it to all stick. And then we will wash this or bathe it for up to 3 times. And what we're doing is smelling the meat each time we wash it to make sure there's no smell of a smell similar to ammonia, which would be the bicarbonated of soda. And once that smell's gone, we know the taste of bicarbonated of soda is gone as well, and it'll be ready to cook. So we'll pop that in the fridge now. So here is the meat now marinated, so it has that velvet texture, what's known as velveting. All I'm going to do now, I've just smelt it, and although I can still smell the bicarbonated of soda, all the other spices are still there. And even though I'm going to rinse it in this colander, we won't wash the flavour off it. All we're doing is just getting rid of the bicarbonated of soda. So let's just pop it in there. And we're just going to slowly rinse it. Just to get all the gnarly bits off the top. Can rinse it in a large bowl and keep changing the water, or do it like this in a colander. As you can see, the meat is still nice and dark and deep red from the soy sauce. And what we're going to do is smell the meat just to make sure there's no smell of that bicarbonated soda on it. And there is a little, so I just need to keep rinsing it. So that's our meat now rinsed. What we have to ensure now is it's completely dry, so I'm just going to leave it sitting here so I can get all the water off it for the next process. So what I'm going to do now is the new method of frying meats, which I know most Chinese takeaways use. Instead of doing it in the wok nowadays, what they do is pre-prep the meat, just like I have, and then they shallow fry it or fry it in the big fryers which they have. And this way we can evenly coat it without getting any burn or char marks on it. And I'm doing this at around 100 degrees, and I'm just going to lightly evenly cook it. So it's still going to be tender. If though you were doing a medium rare steak, because we still have some cooking process to do. So this will cook very quickly. I know this oil needs changing, so I might as well make the last and most of it before I change the oil. I'm using a Tefal deep fat fryer. It's a new one on the market. It's the Ola Clean, if it's pronounced right. This is the 3.5 litre one, which is more than enough for 2 people. But it's great for when you've got guests over as well. Just going to turn up that heat a little. As you can see, it's cooking nicely. In the olden days, they used to do all of this in the wok, but because of the volume that most takeaways have now, they'll do this in a deep fat fryer as per order. So once you place that order, they'll pick up the amount needed for that dish and just drop it straight in the deep fat fryer. So this won't take long. Like I say, we don't need it burnt, crispy looking. We just want it to look like it's come straight from the takeaway in your favourite meal. So there you can see, and I've just tasted it. Chef's privilege. This is our Chinese style cooked beef, as you would see in a restaurant or in a Chinese takeaway. So what we're going to do now that we've done the beef, is just put a little oil in there and around 2 spoonfuls of oil in there, because that's for the curry, which I'm going to show you very shortly. And we're going to get this up to heat, and we're just going to cook off our onions and frozen peas, and this is going to be for the curry. So as you know, the the famous nice and crispy chunky onions. We're just going to add some of them for the meal, probably more than enough, and get them up to heat. We don't want to burn these onions, we want them still to be somewhat raw but slightly cooked, because there's more process when we start cooking the curry itself. And in with these we're going to add a handful of peas. And these are just frozen peas, any particular kind, whatever your favourite in the shops. This is all we're using. And I'm just going to cook these off slightly and then leave them with the beef to one side before I start making the curry. And this curry is going to be the famous Chinese style curry you're used to tasting when you go to your favourite Chinese takeaway for your favourite curry dish. So we're heating our 2 tablespoons full of oil, and we only want to warm it, we don't want to get it up to a high temperature. So at this moment in time I've got it on number 3 for my induction hob, so whatever that is for your gas cooker. And we only want to slightly heat it, which it is now. Then we want to add some cumin powder, around a tablespoonful. The reason why we're adding these spices is just to add to the initial flavour of the meal we are. We don't want to burn these spices. Once they start wafting up and we can smell these spices, then they're just about ready to continue adding the next ingredient. So what I'm going to show you now is this Chinese curry sauce made by Goldfish. It's the sauce you would get in the Chinese takeaway and probably restaurant. It's a paste, and to smell that now, it smells exactly like your traditional Chinese curry takeaway. It does. Absolutely smells gorgeous. This is the paste. Now, depending on how much you're making, then for just 2 people you'd probably want a little under half of that. This is 405 gram in total, but for this meal, because I'm making a batch, then I'm going to add it all. And once it's set aside, once it's cooked and set aside, we then add it to the meal. So this is similar to the gravy when you make a curry gravy for a meal. So let's just see if I can get this out of here. As we start to cook it, it starts to break down in the heat and becomes more manageable. As you can see it now, it's like very wet sand. So let's just get this. I might have been better using a knife. So this will make a large batch full, around 2 litres. And then when we set it aside, once we reheat our meat and onion and the rest of the meal, we keep adding spoonfuls into that with a little bit of water until it gets to the thickness that you like. So still on the low heat, this is going to break down. Just as you can see there, you don't want to burn it. What I need to do now is just get some hot water. So still on gas mark 3, or in my case number 3 with my induction. There's the paste now broken down. This paste is available on Amazon. It's called Goldfish Chinese curry sauce. Believe me, this smell now is like me stood in a queue waiting for my order. That's what it smells like. Now it's broken down, we're going to add a litre of water bit by bit, because we only want it at the thickness we like our curry to be. We don't want it sloppy or runny. We want it to be a nice thick paste which is going to stick to all the ingredients. And this stuff, this size, 400 gram, goes a very long way. Just going to notch it up a touch. Adding the water until I get to that thickness I like. Not only is it available on Amazon, but I believe the supermarket Tesco stocks it. I've been looking for it for a while, and I got a nice email off a certain person to tell me the best place to get it the next day without having to travel some distance to my local Tesco was Amazon. It was slightly more, but I would have spent that in fuel anyway. So there's 1 litre. So up to now I'm up to 1.5 litre of water, and that's the thickness. All I need to do now is just make sure all the paste dissolves into the liquid and we have a very smooth curry sauce. The actual smell of this, the authentic smell that you get, is absolutely amazing. Taste, I can only describe it as the best curry you've ever tasted from a Chinese takeaway restaurant. There's no other explanation. We all like our curry different, some watery, some thick. Some people might not even like this style of curry. You have to remember, Chinese food in a takeaway is not Chinese food traditionally. It's a Western thing. So that's extremely thick. When we leave it to stand in a minute, it will thicken slightly more. But once we start cooking the rest of the meal, and then we add this per spoonful into the meal until there's enough curry to accommodate the meat, then we can also add a little bit more water to the pan we're cooking it in. So this is known now as the gravy. This is what you freeze up, and the next time you want a curry, you get this out of the refrigerator, or should I say freezer. And this is at that constituency, that thickness, which is ideal. Pop in a bag, defrost it, and then put it with your favourite meal. Curry and chips, imagine that now, curry and chips. Favourite meal, and then just add a tiny bit of water to break it down a bit. Right. We're going to leave that to one side now, and we're going to make something nice and special. In fact, I'll leave that in there. So that's going to come off the heat. We're going to use that as and when we need it for the main meal. So what better to go with your favourite curry dish is an egg fried rice, and I'm going to show you how to make it. So get your onions in there. I've turned up the heat. And the cheese as well. Turn that down so it's not too hot. Make sure it's all separated. So what we're going to do now is add an egg to this, but don't make the mistake I see everyone else do. They put the egg into there and straight away they start doing that. And what you're left with your egg fried rice is a load of stringy pieces of cooked egg. So the trick is, pop the egg in, let it start to cook a little. Get it turned up. It's now starting to cook. You can see the white underneath. And this is the point you now start stirring. And that way you're left with all the chunks of egg rather than stringy pieces. Leave it stand a bit. Just put a tad more oil in there. Set up a new pan. And as seen previously, I've already cooked my rice off, so I'm going to add my rice. What we want to do now is knock out all these lumpy bits. Right, the final part. So here's our curry, which is being left to one side, extremely thick. We're going to add this to the pan. It's way too hot. And then we're going to add our meats. We can always add more curry to it if need be. We've used 3 ladlefuls, and there's probably still 1.5 litres of curry sauce gravy left. And depending on how much curry you like in with your meal, you can add to it. And all we're doing now is bringing it back up to heat. If it's too thick, then you can also add a bit of water prior to adding your meat and veg and get it to that thickness you like. I'm going to add another one there. And we're just going to bring it back up to heat, ready to serve. So this is just coming up to heat now, so it's ready to serve. My egg fried rice, I don't think I've allowed the rice to dry enough, even though it was cooked, before using it, because it's got more like couscous than it has egg fried rice. So what I'm doing to save the day is doing my pan fried noodles in dark soya sauce with a couple of spoonfuls of sugar on just to do that thing and make it all sticky, because I can't say the word caramelized. And yes, I know you're all smiling. And I'm going to serve it with noodles, this beef curry. This won't take long now. Well, there you go guys, beef curry, authentically Chinese style from your takeaway shop, noodles and egg fried rice. Hope you enjoyed the video guys.